Champions Cup round 5, the Saturday games are done and dusted. All home wins except for the last one. Uh, Pretty good weekend thus far for the Irish teams. And there's been a couple of big scorelines, some entertaining ones. Let's just start with the beginning. Montpellier have gotten a win over Newcastle. It was kind of expected. This one, according to the bookies, was going to be the biggest blowout. And sure enough, 45 points to 8 is a pretty big scoreline. I haven't seen this one live. The only ones I saw live were the Ulster and the Edinburgh games. These two were on at a pretty poor time here in New Zealand anyway. Kind of makes sense, seeing as we're on the other side of the world, but I've seen the highlights, I've read the stats, and it seems like it was, I suppose, a game of two halves. It's a bit cliche, but the floodgates really seemed to open in that second half. I mean, first half you had tries from Nagutha, Rylak, 15 minutes, 31 minutes, but that's not that bad. I mean, Toby Flood kicked the penalty. Half time they go into the sheds at 12-3. That's still game on. Anything can happen at that point. But then, second half, Willemse, Immelman twice, Janssen van Rensburg and Ruffenach all score. Cabrigi gets the one try for Newcastle. Kind of towards the end when it looked like Montpellier was switching off a bit. Ascot put a little kick through. Pretty long night for Newcastle, to be fair. I suppose the sooner they can get out of the Europe and get that focus on surviving this premiership season, probably the better. You look at some of the key performers for this game. I mean, it was 7 tries to 1. So, but some of the stats were interesting. Montpellier actually had less possession at 45%, but they had similar run meters to Newcastle at 431 to 438. Newcastle slightly more. Defenders beaten were kind of even, 19 to 17. Turnovers won, though, seems to be one of the big difference makers, with 11 to Montpellier, only 6 to Newcastle. So it's one where the stats don't really tell the full story, because according to a lot of those key figures, Newcastle were right in the game, but it seems just those kind of X-factor moments, it was all Montpellier. If anyone saw that game in full, you'll have to kind of tell me more about where the game was won and lost, because the numbers, as I said, don't really tell that full story. Pickamoles, 6 defenders beaten, 2 turnovers. He seemed to have a pretty good shift for Montpellier. Rylak had 13 tackles, which was the most for Montpellier. Hardy had 12 for Newcastle. So, again, guys putting in decent shifts. In terms of how this affects the table for these teams, Newcastle, they're on the way out, and Montpellier are still alive. They are only a few points behind Edinburgh, and they're still currently going through, I think, as the bottom place runner-up, but Glasgow still have a game in hand, so we'll see what happens with that one. As to the situation, it might be that Montpellier need a win in that final week to either pass Edinburgh or to pass Glasgow, or somebody else even. We will see. The next one, battle of the two top dogs, Leicester up against Toulouse. We ended up being fairly one-sided in terms of the scoreboard, but it's another one where the stats make for interesting reading. So, Leicester opened up the scoring with a penalty. Toulouse answered 3-3. And that's the way it stayed until about the 34th minute, when Jack Conan got his try, made it 10-3. Toulouse penalty 10-6. 10-6 halftime once again, like that first game. It's still game on at 10-6. Neither side really able to assert dominance from the 10 minutes or so of highlights I've seen. But from what the commentators did mention in the footage, apparently there's a fair bit of wind in that game, and Leinster were playing into it in the first half. So perhaps it's always harder to play into the wind. So that was a factor for their lack of scoring, because in the second half they put on a few more points. Dave Carney got a try from a pinpoint accurate cross kick. That thing just on a string right into the corner, and he had some work to do to take it, dot it down and not go out. So he had to handle it, not fumble it, get it down without going out, kind of avoid the guy coming in for the tackle. I think it was in Tamak. Yeah, man, that was a pretty magic try. Cronin got one as well. And then the last one from Edinburgh, that was a really, really fantastic, sick, amazing pass from Jamison Gibson Park. It must have been 20 metres more, probably. They took a quick penalty, and he just cut out half the field. Yeah, man, it was maybe 30 metres. It was a pretty amazing pass. If you haven't seen the highlights, it is definitely worth a look. So that made it 29-6, pretty much game over. But Colby did score that one try for Toulouse at the end. But still, crucial fourth try for Leinster. That gets the bonus point. They are now leading the pool. They are in first. It really seemed like a game where it was going to take moments of brilliance to get the win because, again, stats, Leinster 55-45, so it's not hugely dominant in terms of possession. Run meters 472 to Toulouse's 451. Again, pretty even. Defenders beaten 27-25. Clean breaks 8-7. So a lot of the stats tell me the game was close. But when it came to those, as I said before, X factor, you need that bit of magic. You need that cross kick. You need that 30-meter pass. Leinster were there to provide that service. Adam Byrne had some pretty good numbers, 64 run meters, 4 defenders beaten, scored a try. But Cheslin Colby, that guy is magic. His numbers, 125 run meters and 13 defenders beaten. The entire Toulouse rest of their 22 men had 12. Colby alone had 13. It's just bizarre, man. How does one man do that much? 4 clean breaks as well, so he seems like a pretty strong candidate for man of the match if he wasn't on a losing team, I suppose. Scored a try, converted it from a little droppy, did a bit of everything. James Ryan led Leinster's tackling, no surprises there, 16 tackles. Elstad for Toulouse with 20, but I guess they had a bit less ball, so they had to make some more tackles. But hey, pretty big win for Leinster, as I said, takes them top. Toulouse still going through at this point. I think the second best of the runner-ups, just behind Ulster. So we'll see how things go for them in the final week. But I mean, realistically, both those teams, I think, should go through pretty comfortably. The next one, Bath up against Wasps in what was essentially a game for pride. Bath get it done 18-16. I said before this one that it might be one where, because there's nothing really to play for, that it might be a bit open, and it seems to have started that way because you had 3 tries after 21 minutes, but that was it. No more tries for the kind of the rest of the 2/3 of the game. Sopuan kicked a penalty. Green got a try, and that is the story of this game, is that it looks low scoring, kind of, 3 tries. But the lead changed, I think, in total 6 times. I'm not sure that any one team scored twice in a row in this game. It was always tit for tat, seesawing, which, in terms of entertainment value, even if there's nothing on the longer term display, for the game itself, that makes for entertainment because, you know, if one team just scores 7 tries, then it's game over before half-time kind of thing, or at least just after. Sopuanga had a yellow card in this game. That guy is still going to come under a bit more scrutiny. He had a bit of a shoulder charge. But, I mean, not to focus on the negative, it was really good to see Falatau running. He had a big line break, set up a try. Seems fit and healthy, so that's a very good thing for all rugby fans to witness. Mercer also looked really good. He has got some serious gas. I never quite realised he was that quick. He scored a try. Hughes got the one for Wasps on his return, so good for him as well. And he actually led Wasps' run meters. He had 60 run meters, so on his return, seems to have put in a pretty good shift. Atkins for Bath had 106 run meters, so good on him. Defensively, Charteris had 16 tackles. Thomas Young had 14. So, yeah, seems like a pretty close game. The stats possession territory is kind of again 54 to Wasps, 46 to Bath. But Bath had more run meters, more defenders beaten, more clean breaks, fairly convincingly as well. Like clean breaks was 5-1. So yeah, perhaps they should have won by more. And there was some, I didn't see the whole game, but the commentators seemed to think that that kind of final penalty that Bath got may have been a bit of a dodgy one. But either way, well sold game. Like it seemed to be a pretty good crowd again for a game which didn't have much riding on it. Perhaps those tickets are sold in bundles at the start of the season. I'm not sure, but either way, people didn't have to go, but they still showed up. So that's very good. It seems like Wasps though did have a very strong scrum. From what bits I've saw, they did seem to be putting Bath really under the pump. So it's often hard to get a win when you do suffer at set piece. So I guess good on Bath for getting the win. Wasps are in fourth, Bath are in third, but again, nothing's really doing for either of those teams in that pool. The next one is the one I got up at 4:15 to watch. And there are sometimes I get up early in the morning and regret it and wish I'd just gone back to bed. Not this time. This game was proper entertainment. It started with an Ulster penalty and then a try to Balakoon in the 7th minute. That was well worked. It was kind of after a line-out move and then like a phase later. They scored a try. They missed the conversion. It seemed to be pretty windy there as well, but 8-0. The commentators alluded to it as well, but you have to wonder at times how the Racing guys go when they're not indoors, because it would definitely be of quite different conditions from when they're at home. Stockdale got a try. Again, made it 13-0, so Ulster were well on top, out of the blocks quickly, and then when Racing finally did get some ball, when it was like at least 8-0, Racing built some phases, and then Marcel Coetzee got turnover, so it seems to be one of those ones where everything was going to go Ulster's way, but it didn't fall into that one-sided pattern. It stayed interesting. Varakawa got a try after Ulster missed their own line-out, and that did seem to be of an issue there. Their line-out stats weren't great. Zebo got a try. Of course, he was always going to get a try on his return to Irish rugby soil. But they missed the conversion, made it 16-10. That's how it was at halftime. So again, close games at halftime all round. But possession for Ulster was only at 37% in their first half. So Racing had a lot of ball, but Ulster were just able to grab points at those key moments, I suppose. Run meters, again, Racing had more, 259 to 133 for Ulster. But Ulster were getting turnovers, 4-0 in that first half. So that was their defence, and their turnovers were kind of keeping them alive. Second half, Stockdale gets a try, his second one. And that one was, again, getting into ridiculous kind of skill territory. He's going down the left wing. He chips over. It doesn't look like he's going to be the first guy to the ball. There's two Racing guys there. Somehow he manages to shadow past them and the ball comes to him and he just dots the ball down. I don't know if he's just very lucky or it's just amazing skill. Probably, I mean, the bounce of the ball is always a touch of luck. You got to have the skill to put yourself in that situation, but phenomenal try. That made it 23-10. And again, Ulster was starting to look fairly comfortable. But it was after that the Racing really started to push. Doolan got his try after a few phases, made it 23-15. And then Klemenchek, after Doolan's break, got his try in the 63rd from a Nakarawa offload. 23-22, 1 point in it. And it was tight. And it was about, I suppose, in like the early 70 minutes that Ulster seemed to get a bit of a second wind because the momentum was all with Racing. They needed to do something. They did seem to put Racing under a bit of pressure with the ball. Ulster got a bit of ball of their own. They started winning some penalties. They managed to close it out. There was a bit of handbags. But yeah, they kicked that last penalty, which made it 26-22, just before the full-time whistle. So they still had to receive a kickoff and kick it out, but they managed to settle it down. So 26-22, they take the result. Yeah, very good game. I mean, Racing still get the bonus point for losing and another bonus point for getting 4 tries, but Ulster get a much needed win. It was a cool moment to see Rory Best charge down Finn Russell. I don't know how many charge downs Rory Best gets, but he certainly did that one. And I also found it interesting the commentator for Stockdale's first try said he thought it was a forward pass, but I thought it was fine. And then for one of Racing's tries, which was denied, it looked pretty forward to me, but he said the commentator was like, that's fine. So I don't know if it's me that needs new glasses or it wasn't the main commentator, it was whoever's doing like the expert comments, not the Irish guy, the other guy. You guys have to let me know your thoughts on that because I mean Stockdale's one he was perhaps slightly ahead of the ball, but he caught it behind himself and then for the Racing one, the dude caught the ball like with his arms fully stretched out like it was in front of him by a mile. Just for mine anyway. But yeah, Doolan had 7 defenders beaten, so he led that for the game. Addison had 4, so also very solid. Ulster's line out, I mentioned it before. They had 8 successful, but 4 unsuccessful. That's a third, so that needs improvement if they're going to do anything in the comp. I suppose it could have just been the wind as well. Coetzee was massive, as I said earlier. 3 turnovers, 17 tackles. Murphy had 17 tackles and a turnover, so there were plenty of good things going on there. But if you look at the final stats, if you just looked at them without the scoreline, you would have thought Racing might have gotten more out of it because they had 583 run meters to Ulster's 256. They had 57% possession, although they did concede 11 penalties to Ulster's 6. Again, that's probably a factor. And Ulster won 8 turnovers to Racing's 2. So, yeah, I guess they were getting the turnovers when it counted and really able to stifle what Racing were doing at key times. The next one, Scarlets against Leicester. Scarlets were already out of this before the game started. Leicester, I think, had a very slim mathematical chance, but picked a team missing a few big names. And I suppose that shows, but I mean, Scarlets themselves had Ken Owens at number 8, so it was definitely a bit of a makeshift lineup there as well. Still 33 points to 10. I've seen the highlights, and at one point it was 33-0. Because Scarlets seemed to go on a bit of a rampage. It took them a while to get the first points. Rob Evans, first try, he got 2. And if you're in Evans, this was a good game for tries. You got Evanses everywhere. Rob Evans got 2. Owens got 1. So it was 12-0 at half time. And Owens looked angry. He scored his try, and he looked, like both like celebration, but also anger. I don't know if there was a bit of feeling in this. Maybe there'd been a bit of talk or what was going on, but man, he was pumped to score that try. Second half, Rob Evans gets another one. But Nickel gets one with Fonatia making a pretty sweet line break. Managed to just cut back against the one of the action and then go through a big gaping hole. So he seemed to have a pretty good game. Leicester got a yellow card. Steph Evans got a try pretty much immediately after that. But then Will Evans got his try for Leicester also during that yellow card. So the final yellow card score was Scarlets picked up 7 points by Leicester 5. So they didn't do too badly just by having a man down. Fitzgerald went over also for Leicester right at the end. So Leicester managed to pick back up 10 points to save a bit of face, but beaten pretty convincingly. But again, priority's probably not on the comp at this point. Scarlets more possession 58, more run meters for 89 to 358. Leicester more missed tackles 32 to Scarlets 21. Fonatia, I mentioned him before, 7 defenders beaten, had a really nice try assist, so he led the way there. George Worth, 75 run meters, was the number 1 run meter getter of the whole game, so I suppose that's one little bright side. Ken Owens made 13 tackles. Kerr made 16 but missed 4, so yeah, for a game that didn't have that much on it for Scarlets, maybe that's kind of Ken Owens what he was showing as well, that it still means something even if it's a if it's a game that's not going to get them anywhere in the long term, perhaps he's still showing a bit of pride for the jersey and that he wanted to kind of express that. Yeah. Either way, it was a good win for Scarlets. So, yeah, a bit of pride restored for them. The last one, and I did watch this one, it was on just after 6 in the morning here, maybe close to 6:30. Edinburgh getting the win over Toulon. Funnily enough, they weren't actually the favourites for this one. Toulon had the bookies down as the favourite, but 28 points to 17. And had one of the most interesting tries I think I've ever seen. So I'm pretty glad I watched it. But Girardo scored first for Toulon after kind of around a minute. So they came out firing. They missed the conversion though. Van der Valk got a penalty, made it 5-3. So it was still kind of tight. Graham got his try, and he had a really good game. Looked very busy. Yeah, he got his try. Went through the fullback basically. The fullback was, I think, on debut and a bit small, perhaps. Graham went straight over him pretty much. Made it 8-5. So the lead changed. Issa got his try not long after, so the lead changed back. Again, missed the conversion. Again, another one that seemed a bit windy. Half time, it was 12 points to 8 in Toulon's favour. And this is a game that Edinburgh, with Montpellier getting a win, really needed to do something. And they did in that second half, man. Kinghorn got his try from a nice little kick through. They got the conversion, 15 points to 12. So Edinburgh back in the lead, and they wouldn't relinquish the lead from there on out. Kicked a penalty, 18 points to 12. Another penalty, 21-12. And then Johnston's try from Matta's offload. The reason I say it's interesting is because guys offload the ball in a number of ways. Like Sonny Bill plays here. I see him play all the time. He's got the kind of traditional under the arm or around the body offload. You know, Folau especially is one of the guys who does the kind of out of the back of the hand, the chicken wing offload. I watched the Racing game, so Nakarawa with his like kind of basketball, like, you know, gets the ball up high and offloads it, but you probably have to watch the highlights to see Matta's offload to see how he did it, but he kind of did it like that. I don't know, man. I can't do it justice. It was a ridiculous offload and an amazing take from Johnston, kind of over his shoulder. Managed to hang on to it. Deserves a win just for that try, man. It was an absolute bit of magic. And like I said, this game did have magic from both sides. Like Kinghorn's try from Johnston's kick, so he was a real busy man as well. But, I mean, it also had a few stinking moments from both teams where it was a bit off. Like, Bellew had the ball like 5 meters out from his own try line, and he was getting people running at him, and he passed it to Xavier to try and get rid of it, and he passed it well forward. Wasn't the best of control. I mean, Purgos dropped the ball dead from a line out they won. Like, they won the line out clean, passed it straight to him, and he just dropped it cold. Maybe took his eyes off it. So it wasn't a perfect game, but the moments of brilliance, I think, outweighed the moments where guys were a bit careless. But yeah, back and forward game until about 60 minutes, and then Edinburgh really started to push. I mean, they picked their big guns for this one, and it really started to show. Final stats really dominant for Edinburgh. 65% possession shows a lot. 480 run meters to 264. Toulon missed 27 tackles. Edinburgh only 13. So it's one of those games where the stats actually match the scoreline, because it shows just how dominant Edinburgh were at times. But like I said, Toulon were in it for an hour and just started to push away. Xavier did get a try at the end for Toulon. Man, that guy's been criticised a lot since going to Toulon. And he only just got that one. Like, he grabbed it. I think he thought about offloading it and bobbled it, but managed to dot it down. So if he dropped it, it would have been the ultimate like moment for him getting criticised by Toulon fans. But he managed to hold on for that try. So 28 points to 17. It finishes Edinburgh still top of their pool, but not guaranteed as yet. So they still need to to carry things through in that final game. But as I said, at the moment, Montpellier and Edinburgh are both going through from that pool, so we'll see how things go. So yeah, I watched two. Very happy with both the games I watched. All the highlights packages seem pretty good as well. There seem to be some pretty good moments. I know some of you guys who contacted me on Twitter said the first half of the Leinster game wasn't enthralling, but that's just, I haven't seen that full game, so I don't know. You guys will have to let me know how it was. Actually, somebody else said, no, you should watch the whole 80 because it was great, so I guess different strokes for different folks. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on the games. How do you think they go? Key performers, any other key moments that I didn't see, because like I said, I've only seen two of the games in full. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.